The National Guard had simply closed off a large area of downtown Berkeley, arresting shoppers and protesters alike. I had a valid press pass, given to me that day by the Berkeley police. But with my long hair and all, Sergeant Number 1 would not let me leave the ring. Angry, I sat down with those caught, chatting for hours, surrounded by bayonets. A cop pulled me out and said I was arrested. I showed him my press card. Terribly impressed, he used it to get my name and address and sent me on to fingerprinting and the sheriff's bus. Like the others, I expected to be bailed out after a few hours booking at Santa Rita, the county prison farm, and then be home for a late dinner. Like the others, I was to be in a state of literal terror for the next 16 hours. The 1-inch slit in the window of the Alameda County Sheriff's bus didn't let us see much of Santa Rita Rehabilitation Center. Only a lot of wire and low white barracks. Somebody jokingly referred to it as a cross between a concentration camp and a chicken farm. The bus stopped at the gates, and 2 guards with shotguns jumped on. "All right, you creeps, move your asses out of here. The last guy out gets his head cracked open." People who live in college towns spend their lives seeing old gangster movies, and it was difficult at first to realize that corn and violence had suddenly become the real world. We stumbled out of the bus and through a gauntlet of club-swinging deputy sheriffs. The guy in front faltered, and they hit him on the head. It does sound like a crack. He said something like, "Take it easy," and they moved in on him. The rest of us made it through the gate and were greeted by the sight of 200 arrestees lying prone on a concrete yard, heads turned sideways, hands straight back at their sides, legs pulled close together. 200 bodies perfectly tense and quiet, but the guards walking between the rows of bodies gave proof of life as they whacked and poked the men with their clubs. These guards were the same deputies who had done all the shooting in Berkeley the week before, the Blue Meanies. In America, it's always comic book death, macabre, unreal, and later funny. It was getting dark and cold. The countryside was moorish and vacant. We could hear no cars moving on Highway 50 below, and the place was flooded with guards, enough to turn any organized resistance into a bloodbath. The concrete was gravelly, and it dug into your cheek. The wind blew some of the smaller bits into your eyes, which had to be opened to catch sight of the guard about to whack your limbs for having moved or shivered in the bitter cold. After 30 minutes, you could turn your head to rest on the other cheek. We lay there from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. The fellow who was beaten as we came off the bus was forced to take a different position, resting on his knees, arms hanging at his sides, while 3 guards systematically beat him for several minutes. 1 guard for the stomach, 1 for the back, and 1 who specialized on the head. When he got out later, a doctor reported that he pissed blood and that his body was a mass of bruises. The rest of us just lay there. No one said anything. No one protested. Perhaps some tried to, but the minute their hands moved, they became the center of other guards' attention. If you don't like it, do something, and we'll bust you on a felony for assaulting an officer. You'll never get out. That's the threat that finally keeps you in line. While my body had suddenly become very important because it was vulnerable to pain, my mind floated elsewhere, giddy and irrelevant. All this time, I thought of James Reston and Max Lerner and the other good, rational men. I began to compose an open letter to Reston. Dear Scotty, it went. This letter concerns your column holding the New Left responsible for the increase of violence in American society. You condemn the New Left for its distrust of the legal system. Remember? It's the column that had the cute line about the New Left kids being neo-Nazi crybabies who won't pay their dues. Well, before I get into those arguments, Scotty, why don't you try paying some dues? Lie down on this concrete floor, motherfucker. Hands back, legs together, as the guards here say. Come on, creep faggot, get your ass down there, cheek to the stone, keep your hands out. What are you doing, masturbating? Move your head and I crack it open. At Santa Rita, we shoot to kill. Sorry, Scotty. Have to run now. There's this guard talking to me. The guard is, like most all the other guards, a stocky, nasty redneck, except that he's enamel white, not enough sun in Northern California. Like most of the younger ones, he was let out of the Marines 6 months early to enter this profession. He seems to have only 2 comments to make about life. One is, we shoot to kill in Santa Rita, and the other is, creep, I split heads. He has been commenting on life for 2 hours, and now his club is 2 inches from my nose. Do I want to go wee-wee? It's a good thing, a favor, a release. My head won't be cracked, nor will I be shot. On the contrary, 5 of us are getting to go to the bathroom. One cannot simply walk in and piss in the latrine, for there seems to be an elaborate and well-established ritual which the fat, middle-aged latrine guard is bent on following. It requires that one first sit in line, 3 feet from the latrine, and observe a good 2 minutes of silent reflection. Then the fat guard has us all jump to and line up on 3 sides of the small box to piss on signal and unavoidably on each other. At 8:34 p.m., we are given a minute's exercise running in place. Soon we are allowed to sit, hands clasped, no talking, nirvana. At 10 p.m., they run us, shivering, into a barracks, 8 to a double bunk, and it is rumored that a doctor has blocked the guards' fervent and often expressed wish that we freeze to death out in the compound. Doing all this, they are calling out names for booking. Booking is blessed, because until one is booked, he cannot be bailed. I am not booked until early the next morning. We are kept in the barracks from 10 p.m. to 4:30 a.m. 3 lawyers arrive, and there are wild cheers from inmates. The guards snarl, but hold their clubs. Kids are afraid to talk too freely to the lawyers with the guards watching. One lawyer talks too much to an inmate and is himself made an inmate, charged with interfering, etc. The other lawyers leave, and the guards snap back to viciousness, making up for the 20 minutes they've lost. The guards don't want to see any closed eyes, no sleeping. If eyes close, you get a rap on your bunk or self. Yes, sir, you say. If not, then outside to be beaten and lie face down in the cold. The ACLU green card had said, you have the right to call counsel. Later, another kid asks whether we will get to call a lawyer. You say something, creep? Come here, creep. He too is hauled out and hit. Fuck the ACLU green card. Survive. You forget your rights and concentrate on the main problem, keeping your eyes open, 10 p.m. to 4:30 a.m., and pray for booking. Most are already called, and we get desperate as our numbers decline. Finally, our turn comes. 5 names called, up against the fence. Nasty red-headed pig makes us trot, whacking the last guy. The booking hut is all efficiency. Lots of deputy sheriffs, 5 typewriters going, fingerprinting and searching. You start by sitting on the floor, once again hands clasped in front, eyes riveted ahead, or we'll rip them out and paste them up there. Scrape along on ass, still sitting, from stop to stop. First stop is for searching again. Stand up, hands against wall, feet back. No creep like this. One's head is then thumped hard against the wall, legs kicked back, pig hands searching entire body. The mind is by now too tired for outrage. Back down on the floor, we scrape along on our bottoms to the next station, then up again, heels together at attention, answering questions for the deputy who is typing. Marital state. Married, sir. Legally? Yes, sir. Bullshit. Don't lie to me or you're dead. Children? 1, sir. Legitimate? Yes, sir. Yeah. Ever work? Yes, sir. You got a job, hippie? Yes, sir. Editor, sir. Where? Ramparts magazine, sir. All activity in the booking hut stops suddenly as the assembled deputies are duly informed that the editor of Ramparts magazine is indeed in their company. They all seem reasonably impressed, and one jabs me quite hard in the back with his club. A deputy hustles me over to the sanctuary of his ink pad. It is important that my fingerprints get to Washington quickly, he tells another pig. Then it's back on the floor, eyes straight ahead, to be given a bologna sandwich and a small container of milk, the first food or drink we've had in 15 hours. Because I am the editor of Ramparts, I get to clean every fucking piece of paper off the floor of the hut before eating my bologna sandwich. With booking finished, we're off to Compound C and sleep, only to be awakened 45 minutes later. It's breakfast time. Line up at bunks, eyes ahead. Move your asses, creeps. Run to the mess hall or heads get split. It's wheat checks and watery milk, and keep elbows off the table. For any elbows on the table get cracked. Hey, you fucking hippie queer, don't you understand English? Get up against the wall. Whack. The poor bastard didn't get to eat his wheat checks. We then stand up, and one of the medical volunteers from the Free Church, dressed in a white smock with a huge red cross on his chest, is thought by one of the guards to have smiled, ever so slightly. Did you smile? No, sir. Aren't you happy here? The kid has by now had it. 17 hours is too much. He refuses to answer and is thrown against the wall and beaten. The rest of us are by now on our knees, eyes ahead, crawling to the door. Crawl, motherfucker. Crawl, creep. Keep that ugly fucking head of yours absolutely straight or it's split open. After breakfast, we get to crawl through the mess hall door and then double time back to Compound C. It's already daylight and AM radio is piped through the intercom, with the morning DJ bullshit and news particularly obscene in our situation. An orderly, peaceful arrest of 480 went off without a hitch, with those arrested now in Santa Rita. The bail has been set at $800, and the police are to be congratulated on their efficiency and the lack of unpleasant incidents in the arrest. Chancellor Haynes was pleased that violence had been avoided. The medical kid is back in our compound. Soon the guards find another excuse to haul him outside and resume the beating. There is one very scared kid in our compound who actually was shopping in one of the downtown stores when the roundup began and didn't even know about the demonstration. He is the only one who cracks, silently hysterical and shaking whenever a guard comes near. I now tell him bail should come any minute. It doesn't for 3 more hours. Never allowed our phone call. We've worked out a system of getting word out by compiling a list of names and phone numbers on the outside. Whoever's bailed out should take the list, but the first guy is too scared of the guard's threats and eager to get out. He forgets the list, but the next kid insists on being able to take it and gets off with it. I hear my name and am in a group of 10 trotting through fences with a Central European guard, I swear, metal frame glasses and accent, barking at us that if he had his way, he wouldn't let us go. When we come back after conviction, we'll really get it. Then stop, hold attention for 5 minutes, then run. We see normal prisoners for the first time, and they are bewildered by the charade. As we trot around, the guards shout, "Who do you love?" No answer. "Say the blue meanies." No answer. "Halt. Let's get it straight, creeps. If you want to get out, you'll answer. We can keep you here all week." Trot again. "Who do you love?" A couple reply, "The blue meanies." Most of us finally manage to draw the line and chant, "Fuck the blue meanies." The guards are pissed, but realize that it's too close to the end to push it. Suddenly, I'm in a car back to Berkeley, and for about 3 hours, I frantically try to raise bail money for others and tell people what has happened. Then the entire experience fades out. To begin with, nobody really believes you. Even hard-bitten Berkeley radicals still hold some illusions about American life, about legal limits and public opinion. I began to consider the possibility that this was all some paranoid fantasy. The terror had worked back there because we were cut off and they had total power to define reality. Once we were outside, the guards no longer existed. They were nowhere to be seen in that Chinese restaurant or coffee shop where I was boring people with yesterday's war story. Perhaps I wouldn't have written up the incident, but it turned out that Tim Findlay, a reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle, had also been arrested, and his eyewitness report, printed in that paper the next day, made it somehow all right to remember. It had been real. It was in the papers.